everyone to another episode of the Black Create Connect podcast, where we speak to some of the most incredible, impactful Black entrepreneurs and professionals. And today I have Mark Maciver. Have I said it correctly?
You said it correctly.
Perfect. Who is the CEO, founder of SliderCuts, which is incredible. We're going to get onto that journey in a second. But first of all, big up yourself. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show.
No worries. So I know when we first came in, you said that you rode in, like,
yes.
literally.
Yes.
Are you much of a fitness person? Do you work out every day, or you just?
I work out about 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
But I ride my bike basically every day.
Yeah.
Like to work and back, or to church and back, or to wherever.
Yeah, I was puzzled when I saw you with the bike. I was like, he's fit, like to be riding in London, like that's crazy. But anyway, for those that don't know, Mark, you're a speaker, you're an author. As I mentioned, the CEO of SliderCuts. You've been featured in GQ magazine, and you've been featured in Facebook campaigns, night campaigns.
Yeah.
You've got 3 awards as well. Like, you just have so much accolades. I mean, I really want to get onto a bit more about you and how you've managed to achieve what you have.
Yep.
So just to kind of get started, I want to start with your background, your journey as to like kind of how you got to where you are today. When you were kind of growing up, what were your kind of aspirations? What were you really good at? This is before SliderCuts. Like, what was the journey?
When I was younger, what was I good at? Well, I wanted to be, from about the age of 7, I wanted to be an actor.
Oh, okay.
And so I got into acting probably around 10 years old. Is when I went to Sylvia Young. This is an acting school called Sylvia Young. And my mum took me there. Then I had a spell there. Then I can't remember why we stopped. Maybe we couldn't keep up with the payments. Then a few years later, when I was about 13, 14, I started going back to Sylvia Young again for another spell. So from that period, I wanted to be like an entertainer of some sort. So I wanted to act. And then, you know, there was the whole era, because I'm 37, of like MCing and DJing. So
you went into that as well.
Yeah, everybody was like, you know, you're either an MC or you're a DJ.
Yeah.
Basically, and I was an MC, so I got into that when I was about 14 years old.
Okay.
Then a few years later, I got into dancing. Well, actually, around that same time, actually, I got into dancing, wanted to dance. So I just realized that I just wanted to do something within entertainment. That was just the thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So those were kind of like my aspirations as a child. As I got a little bit older, I remember like working with the youth center I was attending when I got to like 16, 17 years old. We started doing like events with the youth club and helping out the younger kids who were like 13, and, you know, doing a kind of unofficial basic youth work. I remember really being interested in helping younger people. So I remember I also wanted to do something a job that would always help young people. And then I wanted to be a counselor as well, you know, or therapist, you know, of some sort. So
all of these different aspirations, I'm opening my eyes, because it's like you changed from starting off as wanting to be an actor, then it went to you wanted to be a therapist.
Yeah.
What were these inspirations along the way? Why did you want to do entertainment? Why did you want to go into be like a counsellor? What was the reasons for?
Well, I guess first of all, acting, to be honest, the reason why acting started was because we heard that Arnold Schwarzenegger got paid like 40 million for something. That's what it was. I was 7 years old, and I can't remember, we were watching something. It's like, he got paid 40 million. What, to act? I was like, I want to be an actor. So that's how it all started.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was the money.
It was the money.
But the money resides. I
was like, I want to be an actor. But I remember even around those times there, even though that was the driving point, I remember I also wanted to sing. I didn't want to be a singer, but I remember like doing like little competitions, unofficial competitions. Like for some reason, me and my brother used to battle in front of family members, and like, people would vote who was the best at singing.
Like
and
X Factor at home.
Basically,
we used to do that.
with our next door neighbours, we used to do it. So we used to live in Kingsbury at this time.
Okay.
And with our next door neighbours, we met them when we moved there. But I remember they were like a Ghanaian family. And so they became, as Africans do, I was like, oh, that's our cousin now. You know? So we were always around at their house. They were always around at our house. Like, you know, the guy who lived next door, his name was Shegun. I never spoke to him since then. I'm like, it's like 10 years ago, you know, because we moved. You'd always stay at our house. We stay at his house. It was just kind of like we were just allowed to. So, and they had older brothers as well. I remember he had a few older brothers and a sister. So it was like a big family. So remember, we'd just be like in their living room or our living room, and just be like, we're singing and like who won? Who won?
Do you give us a little sample now? What did you used to do? Like, what type of vibe was you? Was you like an Usher vibe? Was you like a Michael Jackson?
This is before Usher. This is 30 years ago. This was what was I singing back then? It would be like Michael Jackson. Then I can't remember, it was me and my brother doing it might be me, the MC Hammer song, but he wasn't even singing. That was I remember, yeah, but he not You Can't Touch This. It was That's Why We Pray. He had this song called That's Why We Pray. Hey, that's why we pray.
I don't know that song. Maybe my mum
You
knows
got
that
to
song.
pray just
That's
to make it today.
Yeah, that's the song that I know.
Yeah, so I remember like doing that song. I can't remember, me or my brother done that song.
Yeah.
So yeah, just all of that kind of stuff there. So even though what drew me, or the trigger point, was kind of like, oh, he got paid 40 million or something like that. I want to get paid that type of money.
Yeah.
I realized I was kind of into entertainment
anyway,
you know, at that stage.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was into hair, but I didn't know it either.
How?
Because at that age there, I used to always look at people's haircuts. Okay. But we used to get haircuts at home from like my mum, just cutting my hair all off. And my next door neighbor, Shegun, again, his dad used to be a barber, I think, or I don't know if or something like that. So I remember one time we got a haircut from him, and I can't remember what it looked like, but I remember it just being neat. Like it was just neat. I remember touching my hair and it was just neat, and looking at it, and it was just a neat haircut. And I used to always want to get proper haircuts. And Shegun and my older brothers used to go to, I remember them going to the barbershop one time, and this was a real defining moment in my life, because it was my older brother, Philip, Thomas, and Shegun, and they went to the barbershop and they came back and they were just talking, and with so much excitement. I was like 7, Shegun was 1 year older than me. So it was like 8. My older brothers were like 13 or something like that, 12, 13. And they were just talking about the haircuts they were going to go get. And when they came back, they had the haircuts, and they were just talking about the haircut they just got. And I remember just being on the outside. What were they
talking about? Just like the experience of getting their haircut, or just how nice they look?
It's the whole experience. Like, people don't realize it's a real thing. Like, you know, going to the barbershop for young boys, especially, maybe young black boys especially. I don't know. It might be in other cultures as well. I just don't know. But I just know, especially for young black boys, it's a real event, you know, going to get a haircut. So they were just talking about it. And I just remember being there like, one day I want to get a haircut in the barbershop.
Wait, hold on. So how old is you at this stage? 13, 14, you said?
No, my older brothers were like 12, 13. I was like 7, 8.
I
was like maybe 7, 8 years old maybe.
And your mum was just cutting your hair?
Yeah, just take it all off. Skin.
She used to skinhead you at 7 years old?
From when I was born till I was getting skinheads until I was about 11. Until I went to secondary school, I was getting skinheads.
So lucky to have a hairline. So like it's a strong hairline. You're so lucky. Why did she do that? Did you ask her why she did that?
She didn't know how to cut hair. It was just early start, so just take it low, then let it grow back, then just take it all low and just let it grow back. So yes, so that's what I was. So all of these things were happening at the same time, where I used to watch people's haircuts.
Yeah.
I used to watch on TV. I remember there's this show called Hang Time, this old show called Hang Time, and I can't remember who the character was, but this guy in it, he used to have this haircut. It was like, I guess now I could describe it as like a number 3 on top with a skin fade. And I remember I used to look at him saying, one day I want to get that haircut. I think that's the haircut which I want. So I used to be really into like watching people's hair, and even like the people in my school, you know, and the era we were in, because this was the 90s. So it was kind of like everyone on TV, British TV anyway, was kind of like, you know, was white with curtains. So I remember, you've got the people back then, like, you know, Take That, and you know, David Beckham, maybe Lee. I remember Lee Sharp from Manchester United. You don't know probably these names, right? No. You know, but on TV, basically, I just remember everyone had curtains, and then when I was in school, everybody had curtains, right? Because all the kids just had curtains. I went to a school which was like.
Wait, for those who don't know, me, what's curtains?
Okay.
I'm like, hey, I know what curtains are. What are they?
So basically, curtains are, you know, so it's a European, like, white hairstyle. Basically, you've got straight hair, and it's split in the middle, and the hair just combed.
Oh, okay.
You know, they comb out to the side.
Curtains.
Yeah, so.
Not middle part, no?
No. Yeah. So everyone in my school had it. So I remember all the boys were just always kind of like flicking their hair and had curtains. And I remember being like, I wish I could have curtains. You
wanted curtains?
It's because it's just everyone had it. And everybody at that time who was cool, had it. You know, it's kind of like they all had curtains. Everyone on TV had curtains. Everyone from, you know, Take That, the group.
Yeah.
You know, everyone Take That, they had curtains. Yeah. You know, everybody, Boyzone, whoever it was on TV had curtains. And that's why even like when I then started watching other programs, you know, like Hang Time, then it's kind of like, okay, here's some people with hair like mine. you know, right, that's the hairstyle which I want, you know. But before that, it's kind of like, you know, all I'm seeing is take that Boyzone, not Boyzone. I can't remember that Boyzone. Just these different people, everyone in my school. So it's like, oh, so.
Did you go to a predominantly white school?
Yeah. My primary school was like all white. I went to about 4 or 5 different primary schools because we moved around a lot. But that particular one, especially, I think it was in my class. There was another black boy and a mixed race girl, and that was it. And there was like a Filipino boy, you know, who had curtains as well, you know. So and that was kind of like ethnic minority, which was in that class.
Wow. So that's what so you had to wait until watch something on TV to basically look at an example of what you ideally want for your hair to be.
Kind of, yeah, just to some degree, yeah, but just to some degree, yes. So yes, I had all those interests growing up. So you know, when I look back, I realized I had an interest in hair because how much I focused on it and how much I was watching it. You know, I had an interest in entertainment.
Yeah.
And you know, counseling that came as I got older, and that was because as I became older and I was, you know, I was a good listener. I used to talk to a lot of people, and just a lot of people for some reason, I don't know why, but growing up told me a lot of things that had happened in their lives and bad things. I remember being a kid. I remember being like, this, not taking it down this road, but I just remember being about 13 years old.
Yeah.
And this girl told me, she was a little bit older than me, a couple years older than me. And she told me that her dad molested her. And I didn't even know what that was at that time, you know. And I don't know what it was why she told me that. Yeah. She might have told everyone that. She might have gone around and that might have been something maybe she told loads of people about. I don't know, but for some reason she told me. And as I was getting older and things were going on, I had people telling me things about them, you know, just like, it felt like people seemed to be comfortable with telling me things. And
how did it make you feel though?
When she said that to me?
Not even just that, but in general, the fact that people come to you and they seem to confide in you about serious things quite a lot. How does that make you feel?
A responsibility, like, you know, what can I do about it? You know, how can you help? You know, and just, I guess just when you hear these things there, it's good to hear because the world isn't what it seems on the surface. And there's a lot more things which are going on in people's lives. And it made me, I guess, a lot more understanding of even the situations that never came to light. You know, so even like if anyone speaks to me now, if you spoke to anyone around me, you know, they always tell you, so if you have an argument with someone and I haven't heard your side, I might be telling the other person, well, you know, there's a potential, maybe there's something going on with her. Or, you know, have you found out why she was doing that? Or, you know, and it's just because of all these different things I've heard in life, you just realize that nothing is what it seems on the surface.
100.
You know, and it might not be anything deep. You might just be wrong, right? But it's kind of like let's say you could say disagreements or most things that happen, either misunderstandings or something deeper. And sometimes it is just the person just a horrible person potentially.
But that's not always the situation.
So that's what it was. So I guess it made me just realize there's just so much more that's going on with people. And so it just made me want to put myself in a position where I could potentially see if I could help people. And I think that opened up my eyes to, you know, even why I wanted to go into counseling or being a therapist, just because I was talking to just different people about different things that are going on in their lives, you know, just, and it's not always like as deep as that. You know, because even when that girl told me that when I was younger, I was like, oh, like I didn't know what to say. Because she was older than me, and I just didn't know what to respond anyway. So as I got older, I always kind of felt like I wanted to kind of like do that, and you know, just more and more people confided in me and trusted me and talked to me about things. I want to go into that. So this is why all these different career paths were happening, were at play for me to want to do.
Okay, so in the midst of all of this, I feel like you were the star of the show. It sounds like from a home perspective a little bit.
No,
no, you wasn't. No. It sounds like you've always just a good child. You know, you've kind of just dibbled and dabbled in a little bit of things as well, and you've been a good person for people to want to confide in.
Yeah.
Who was like a standout inspiration in your life when you was growing up that you thought to yourself, not Arnold, by the way, like someone that really inspired you with their character and their values and their ways of just being?
I can't think of anyone. I think I've taken things from different people. I always say to people when people say, you know, who's your inspiration? And it's like, I'm inspired by a bunch of different people, but I'm also I can be inspired by you. You might be deemed to be a horrible person and you might have done horrible things, but that doesn't mean I'm not inspired by some of the good things you've done. And that's why I realize I've just taken a lot of things from different people.
Yeah.
You know, so I've had this different inspirations and different realms of, you know, as I've grown up, you know. So I can just say as example, so when I got into dancing, the people that inspired me in dancing was Usher, was Marlon. Marlon is, I don't know if you know a group called Flawless.
Oh, Flawless is like, oh.
I don't say that.
Isn't that old? Like, that's from ages ago.
But yeah, but I went to school with Marlon.
Oh, okay.
So Marlon was a year above me.
Okay.
You know, so, and he started Flawless. You know, Flawless was a
British
Got Talent, right?
Yeah.
So when we were in school, he was always dancing.
Right.
Like he used to play basketball in the basketball courts, and I used to always watch him. It's like, this guy's sliding around, and he's, you know, and he's dancing, and he's shooting hoops, and he's like, I'm looking at him saying, I want to slide at that. And even in school, we used to do talent contests, and he would do the talent contest.
Yeah.
You know, and him and his friend at the time, Ashley, you know, would be doing. I remember them performing Usher, You Make Me Wanna, and dancing and doing all the routine and stuff like that. So I remember watching him and being like, yo, that's inspiring because I want to dance. And there's this other guy called David. He was an old school locker and popper, and he was teaching me how to lock and pop when I was about, 14, 15. And he's from like the old school, like, locking and popping, all that stuff there, right? So that's like, okay, so they're inspiring me in those different areas there. Yeah. And then it'll be like, I get into barbering. Who inspired me when I was, when I started off barbering before YouTube, before social media, who inspired me? The barbers in my shop, a guy called Damon, a guy called Frankie. They were both very good barbers in front of me. They inspired me, in cutting hair, but then it might be, okay, well, business wise, then I'm looking at someone else, I see that you run good business, that you inspire me in business. Right. So I haven't had a thing where it's just been like, just one person inspired me wholly. Then it might be character. I remember even like a guy called Carl. Like this is just a guy who I just know, such a calm spirit, so humble, right? And I remember it just being like, he inspires me because his character is so calm, so humble, it's just like, so different people along the way, have inspired me. My mom unofficially inspired me, even though I never thought officially she inspired me. It's only as I got older, I realized some of the things I took from her, which is like her work ethic. Like she was working 2-3 jobs, always working, she was always hustling with something. My mom used to make plantain chips and chin chin, she had the boys doing it. Like she used to make the chin chin, the plantain chips. And then we, at a young age, I was probably like, let's say, I don't know, 11, 12, we'd be in the kitchen and literally she'd make the plantain chips, she'd make the chin chin. You know what chin chin is?
Of course I know what chin chin. I know I'm Jamaican, but I love me some chin chin.
She'd make it and then she'd put it in a big bowl, then we'd take it, then me and my 3 brothers would be like, okay, cool. Stick onto the bag. Weigh the chin chin. Okay, no, this how many grams? Okay, no, enough grams. Okay, yep, there's enough grams. Put into the bag. Then we had the sealer machine, seal it. Then put into another bag. Then we go deliver it to the shops. When we finish doing the whole pile, we go deliver it to the shop where she was selling them. Wow. Or to the shop she was selling them to. So we were involved in that whole process. And then it's like, she's working here. She's been a carer. She's been a dish. She's been that. She's doing all. I'm doing. She's selling Avon. She's always doing something, right? So I realized, subconsciously I took on that work ethic. And also it was good. She had us in the kitchen, like, doing business before we realized what even business was. And then even that, this is not good. This is not something to promote to anyone. And this is not something which I'm kind of like, oh, this is great. But I used to kind of like take from her supply, her chin chin supply. I know it's not good.
Still,
yeah. Because we had no money. Because the thing is, well, we were poor, when from the age of like 5 onwards, we were poor because my mom used to own a shop when we were kids, a newsagent when we were kids.
So how come you were poor if she had all these businesses and things going on? What was the...
We weren't poor up until the age of 5 when she lost the shop. Because even like, maybe 5-6 years old, something like that. Maybe about 5 years old, she had a shop. Everything was fine. We were doing, I guess, great. We were doing okay. I remember even like I used to get taken to school. I used to go to a school at that time in Dollars Hill Lane when I was me and my brother when we were about 4 or 5 years old. I remember we used to get a cab to school and a cab back every day from school.
That is rich life.
But do you know
what it was? That is rich life. Cab back and forth.
Yeah, but do you know why it was though?
Yeah.
Because it makes logical sense now. Because my mom used to take us to school. Yeah. Then I guess to bring us back. But my mom was always late to pick us up.
Right.
Like I'd be outside school until like 5-6 o'clock. I remember one time being outside school and the school was closed and the teacher was waiting for me at the gate, which was with me at the gates, just like, where's your mother? And this is before mobile phones. And my mom was working in a shop. So you can't even get through to my mum. Like in this day and age, they'd call social services for those type of things. They say if you're over 15 minutes late now, like in my son's nursery, they're calling social services. You know, I think it's 15 to
relax. 15 minutes is crazy. Like, give us a minute.
If you don't contact them,
yeah,
and it's gone 15 to 30 minutes, they'll contact social services. But back then, you know, it wasn't that. So because my mum was working in a shop, I know when I look back, I get what was happening now.
Yeah.
Another customer walked in. Then another customer. Then another customer's like, okay, I'll get there. I'll get there. Another customer.
You see it now, maybe.
It makes sense. And our school wasn't close to where we were living. So the school might have been like, I don't know, let's say 2-3 miles. So in a car, it might have taken like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I think what happened was my mum realized actually it made more sense to put us in a cab because all the money you're losing in the shop, because she owned it, she worked there full time. So when you're closing for an hour to go pick up your children in the morning and the evening, it's like, the cab fare at that time was like £3 something.
It's not anything significant.
So I think she realized, oh, she's losing money. I might as well get them to get in a cab. And what's funny, I remember our cab driver, we used to have the same cab driver.
Yeah.
So then there's a deal, like this cab driver was the same person that took us to school and brought us back. You know,
so, okay.
It's the same guy. Yeah. His name was Michael Jackson, funny enough.
No, it wasn't.
His name was Michael Jackson.
You are joking.
His name was Michael Jackson. That was his name. It wasn't
you gave him.
He wasn't the Michael Jackson, but his name was Michael Jackson. You know, if Michael Jackson if he's still out there, you ever see this? You used to take me and my brother to school in Dollars Hill Lane from Neasden to Dollars Hill Lane to a school called Our Ladies of Grace. Okay. Right. So all of these things there, my mum was doing. You know, I've seen. You know, so I realized subconsciously I'm taking all these things in. Yeah. You know, the reason why her shop shut was because her supply house, long and short of it, got robbed of all her stock. You know, the drinks, the food, the this and that. And I don't think she had insurance.
Oh no!
And because my mum's from Nigeria and she moves from Nigeria here, there's a lot of things in this country she didn't know. Like in Nigeria, you don't have insurance. Especially back then, you don't have insurance.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the same thing in Jamaica. But then you don't have like insurance for what?
It's not really a thing.
You know,
it seems like you're wasting money on something.
It's insurance. They didn't have it back then. You know, insurance. So when our thing got robbed, you know, this is a self-funded shop she has. You know, so no investors. She's doing this by herself. So long short, when it got robbed and they took everything's gone. She couldn't afford to keep the shop going. And I guess maybe, I don't know, she didn't have help. You know, her and my dad had broken up by then and my dad had gone back to Nigeria. So just like, you know, she's losing everything. You can't keep up with payments. You can't keep up with bills. And I remember the moment when everything randomly just changed. And I remember literally being in Neasden in our flat above, because we had the flat above the shop. So I guess she was renting the whole thing. A few months later, we were another place in Kilburn. And then we were in Kingsbury. We were, you know, then we're in Camden, you know, and it was just like, we just moving around. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that, you know, I made friends and then suddenly we're gone. It's like, oh yeah, we're moving. Or we never even got told.
How did that, I guess, develop and affect your character, do you think, over time? Because that's a lot for you to be going through at a young age.
Yeah.
So what did that kind of do for you?
I think what it made in my character was the feeling of always being an outcast. So I always felt like I was an outcast. I never felt like I ever fit in. And I think that's because the beginning of my life, I never was in a position where I got comfortable to ever be able to fit in or just stay and, you know, have a group of people that were just your friends, as well as other things. But so it just comes to, because I was constantly moving around, and, you know, I get to Camden and then we stay in Camden until I moved out when I was 26. I was there from like 10 years old till I moved out at 26. Okay. But even then, you know, you go to school in Camden and suddenly, year 5, the people have already got their friendship groups. So I'm coming into a school trying to fit in, but, you know, they've already got their groups. And then I go to secondary school, and then some of these people that had their good groups from primary school, they stay together, and it's kind of like I'm starting again, you know. But then secondary school became stable because I was in one secondary school the whole time.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, but I think because of my start, I never just had that feeling of just like a placement of anywhere, which has been a great benefit to my life though, because it meant that I moved around a lot. So even when I became stable in Camden, I used to just do a lot of stuff by myself. Like I used to
you became independent.
Yeah, and I used to have loads of different like groups of people I hung around with. So I had my friends from Camden, I had my friends from my street where I lived. I'd go to different places like Kilburn and, you know, go to a youth club in Kilburn by myself. you know, just because I heard there's a good youth club there, or there's a youth club in Archway. I go there by myself because I heard there's a good youth club. So along the years, which helped me when I became a barber as well, is I had met so much people in my life, even like the school I went to from secondary school, the college, I went to. Everybody was going City and Islington College, which was in Holloway. All my friends were going there. Everyone's like, yeah, that's the school to go to. I ended up going to a school that nobody went to, which was Westminster Kingsway in Warren Street.
Okay.
You know, so I ended up meeting so much different people. So even like now, when people say to me, why do you know so much people? It's because I moved around a lot. You know, it's just, that's what it was. You know, I went to that, oh, how do you know that person? Oh, I used to go to a youth club in Kilburn. But then people were like, but hold on, didn't you go to a youth club in Kentish Town? I'm like, yeah, I used to go to there as well. But then you go to youth club in Archway.
I guarantee you, there's some people that met you and thought he's lying. Like, he never lived there. No, because I would think, I'd be like, how did you that? You're just chatting rubbish.
I just moved around a lot.
But now you've explained the story and the experience you've gone through. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I'm actually interested to know then about when you started to see a change and when you started to I guess start SliderCuts and how that journey started. So what was that for you? I know you mentioned Damien, the barber that inspired you.
Damon, he hates when we call him Damien.
Oh, sorry.
Damon.
Sorry, Damon. When did that part of your career start for you?
That started when I was 14. That's the first time I picked up the clippers because I was kind of like 13, 14. I was tired of like the home haircuts because at this point now...
The home shaving.
Yeah. Well, at this point, my mom wasn't cutting my hair anymore.
Okay.
My brothers were now cutting my hair. But they just give me like a kind of like a one level all around, no shape up. It wasn't low. Just looked like I never had a haircut. Because obviously in the school I went to, you couldn't have a bald head. And that's all my mom could give me. So now my brothers are kind of like just bringing it down to one level. But then everyone in school had haircuts. They had fades. They had shape ups. They had lines. And I'm like, I want
that
one of those styles.
Yeah.
And I said, you can't afford it because, you know, we're still, you know, poor. You know, so I said, I'm going to try it myself. So I just picked up the clippers. And I was just like, okay, let me try something. I don't know what I was trying. I don't know what I was doing, but I was just kind of like, and then... And
these times you couldn't even watch videos on YouTube or anything. You just had to guess.
Yeah. There was the only video there was out there, and I'm going to try to find it on YouTube, is there used to be this old wall video that had, when you used to buy the wall clippers back in the days in the 90s, they used to come with a video, which would be like a basic tutorial of how to cut hair.
Well, like a VCR that you put into the TV?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Hopefully, all the old school barbers, do you remember the video that used to come with the wall clippers? And you used to put it in and you used to watch it and it used to show you how to do basic haircuts, you know. So
that's so old school.
Yeah, old school. So yes, I didn't know what I was doing. So I ended up messing up and I ended up having to cut my hair all off and having a bald head.
Okay.
And I went to school and I got suspended from classes because I wasn't allowed to have my hair that low. So then I had to wait a few days till my hair grew back to a suitable level, and then I could go back to classes.
I'm not gonna lie, that's really drastic. You're going to deprive someone of education because they've got a bald
Well, they said no, I could be educated. I just had to take the work and do it in the office away from everyone.
That's ridiculous.
You know, so and it's like
anyway.
I wasn't happy with that hairstyle. It wasn't like I wanted this. I was like, listen,
it was a mistake.
I've been punished enough. Giving myself this haircut, and now I'm getting an extra punishment.
You just want a little cut in your hair, you know. But anyway.
So I was constantly doing that. I messed myself up, but still had no money to go to the barbershop. So cut my hair again, messed it up, cut my hair again, messed it up. But then progressively I started getting better. Then one day I went to the barbershop for the first time. There's a barbershop called Positive Move in Archway. I went with my friend Jamal, who was getting his haircut. And I was watching him and I saw them giving the haircut. I was like, oh.
That's how you do it?
They're putting a line in and now they're fading it out. And I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. Okay, so I went home. Took my clippers and my little cousin was living with me at the time. I said, yeah, come, I'm going to cut your hair. And I remember I put a line in his head and I started copying what they were doing. And that was the best haircut at that time that I'd ever done. Because at the time I was cutting my own hair.
Yeah.
I started cutting my little cousin who was living with me. Every now and then I cut my younger brother. But I didn't know what I was doing. And when I went to the shop that time, it kind of was like, oh yes, so that's what you do. Then I just really took an interest and I started cutting people in my area, friends of friends, people just from the area just saying, hey, you know, they can't make it to the barbershop. Can I get a shape up from you? And that's why I became kind of like this kind of like barber, the plan B in the area, you know, or if you didn't have any money, then I became plan A in the area. And then when I turned 18, I was in college and I'd be doing enough haircuts. I used to go to people's houses in my area and cut their hair. I thought I was a good barber at that time. And my brother said to me one time that, I'm better than one of the barbers in the D&L's, the shop I used to work in, because he was going there to get his haircut. I was like, okay, cool. So for a joke, I saw Damon on the street one day, and I said to him, you know what? I said, I'm better than one of your barbers. I was just joking though, because basically at this time, I knew who Damon was because I'd been to that barbershop a few times, and my friend's older brother used to work there as well.
Okay.
So we used to even chill there. So at this point,
Okay, so it was cool, it was banter.
Yeah. We used to chill there. Me and my friend used to chill there, just sit there in the barbershop. So and when we were just chilling there, just watching everybody, I used to watch them cutting hair. And I was taking things from them.
Right.
I remember even asking one of the barbers to say, okay, why are you holding the clipper like that? Why are you doing that? And he's like, oh, because this, because that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I go home. I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to copy that. Right. So while we were in there just chilling and my friend's older brother was there working, I'm watching them being like, I'm taking stuff from them, and just taking in the environment. Yeah. So when I saw Damon, I was like, yeah, I'm better than one of your barbers in the shop. He's like, okay, cool. Come take his place then. I was like, oh, well, wasn't expecting that response because I was just joking. Then every time he saw me for the next few months, he used to always say, okay, so when you come to work? So when you coming? When you coming? When you coming? And I was like, oh, right. He seems like he's being quite serious about this right now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And at this time, I was about to be working in this other barbershop in my area because my auntie knew someone in the area and they said they're trying to change their shop into a barbershop. So at this time, I was about to take that place and I'd have been working there by myself. So I was like, okay, cool. See, all these people I cut in my area, they could now come to this shop and I could work there. Then, Damon just kept on every time seeing me saying, when you come in, then one day, long and short of it, just cut the story short. I was like, okay, cool. I will come because I did want to go there, but I was scared that if I cut a quote unquote real client, I'm going to mess them up. And this is going to be a problem because the way I saw it is I'm cutting friends and friends of friends. I'm not cutting real clients right now.
And you're not really getting paid for it either.
I'm not getting,
so it's fun.
Yeah, it's free. I'm not even getting paid. So at that time, when I was like, if I cut a real client, I mess them up, what are they going to say? So I was scared. So the more and more he asked me is the reason why I took it on. Because okay, cool. I'm like, well, now they've bothered me so much that if I mess someone up, they can't blame me. They keep asking me to come. So you can't, that's what I was scared about. Yeah. You can't blame me. Then, I went there, I was working there on Sundays around college because I was still in college. Yeah. Then, then months later, 6 months later, or however long it was, I added on another day, the day which I wasn't at college. And then I was just working all around college and I started working before college, after college.
Random question. How did you get paid in the barbershop? Because I remember working in the hairdressers when I was around 15 or so. Okay. And going on Sundays. And I used to come home sometimes with £10. You remember, my sister won't remember. My dad used to be like, is this all the money you made? I said, Dad, I only done cane rows today. Yeah. So did they pay you for the day or did they just pay you per cut? How did it work?
I got paid if I cut hair.
Okay, so if you didn't cut hair, you didn't get paid?
Yes, I didn't get paid for a long time.
Okay, so you went for that too. Okay, at least I'm thinking, okay, so you went to work. Because I was thinking, is this the hairdressing industry or am I being bumped here?
No, the industry. Yeah, I didn't get paid. Okay. And even when I first came, the haircuts I was doing were free anyway. Okay. So I wasn't getting paid at all.
Wait, were the customers paying anyone?
No, because basically what happened was when I first got there, I remember the first day I went there, I came in and it was a Sunday and I was like, okay, because they told me to come. I'm like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And Damon said to me, so where's your clients? And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, what clients? You asked me to come here. He goes, what? He's like, what? He's like, and I said to him, oh, was I supposed to bring clients? He's like, what? You think we're going to let you cut the clients from the shop? And and in my head, David
is hilarious.
And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Scammed you.
He's like, and I remember he was like, no. Go get one of your little friends to come in and cut their hair. And he mentioned one of the guys that lived on this road. So you were
scared to cut his clients, and then he was like, you're never gonna cut my clients.
Yeah, or clients from the shop. He's like, yeah, go get one of your little friends and cut their hair. And there's one guy who used to live on this road who he mentioned is like, yeah, go get one of him and get one of them guys and, you cut your hair. He's like, I was like, oh, okay. So that Sunday I did nothing. I just sat there, The next Sunday it's kind of like, okay, I need to bring someone in. And then that's how it was for a while. And then as I got better, then it was kind of like, okay, cool, come in, you cut a couple of the kids, cut this kid's haircut, and then, how they was working was as a percentage split. So it was like, okay, cool, we will take 30% of what you make. So, I cut this kid, £5 and give him their, whatever it's £2, whatever it is. And, you take your £3, whatever it is, or £3 something, whatever it is. And then it was just like that. So it's like, okay, yeah, what did you make today? Well, I made £5, made today. I made £2. Then it's progressive. Oh, I made £10 today. Worked the whole day. What did you make? zero, you know. And there was a time even like, and when I started actually cutting the regular customers in the shop, and it's like, okay, cool, you're at a stage now, you can cut customers in the shop. And it's like, you know, so what did you make today? Nothing. Why? I didn't cut anyone. But, you know, because it's just that I was that day, you know, I was there the whole Saturday from 8:30 till 7 p.m.
But were other barbers cutting people?
Yeah, they were all cutting, yeah.
They just didn't come to you?
Yeah, because I was a rookie barber. So
do you know what? I've been in those situations before. Like, I remember when my hair was shorter and I used to go barbers to get a shape up, and I never used to go to the available barber. I said, why are you available? And, and there's a whole line here. Yeah. Like, there's like, that was a rule a guy told me. The guy was like, don't go to the available one. It means that he's not great. And I did it one time and I was fuming. I was like, this is why, because you completely made me look like a man from this side. Like, it was just wrong. So yeah, that's why people didn't go to
yeah, no, and it made sense. I wasn't a good barber. I was learning. So, you know, that was my journey. I was in there, you know, I finished college and then I started working there full time because I said I didn't want to pursue doing drama or acting in university. But I made a promise to myself at that time saying, okay, look, I'm going to go work full time barbering. But when I figure out the thing I want to do in life, I made a promise that I'll go back to education and study it.
Okay.
So, you know, I said I don't do acting no more because I was doing performing arts in college. And I said, okay. And also I said to myself, all the stuff I'm doing in performing arts, I can do outside of college anyway, outside of school. So, you know, I was in dance classes anyway in the evenings, like Monday and like Tuesday and Thursday, stuff like that. I went to vocal lessons on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And then I was doing some theatre thing on a Saturday. And this was all around work. So I could work full time. Then from work, I go to my voice classes, then, you know, go to dance classes and then go to, you know, the theatre school or whatever it was, right? And I was like, oh, so I can do all this stuff anyway. Which I realize now is work ethic because I was working the whole day full time, then going to do something else every day, Monday to Friday / Saturday, every day, you know. So I did that. I did it for a few years, but I was taking barbering seriously, even though I wasn't planning to be a barber as a career. But the way I was working, you would think that I was, because I was working 7 days a week.
Right.
I was there from the beginning to the end. I was studying it. I was grafting. You would think that, okay, this is what he wants to do. But I was like, no, it wasn't. I just...
How old was you at this point?
19.
Okay.
I was just doing that because I was just doing stuff and I was doing other stuff, you know, outside of that. Then when I turned around 24, at that time there, I went back to, before that, I think around 22, 23, I went back to college and I did a access to uni course to be a social worker. Because remember, I was always interested in helping people. So this is where, you know, in helping people, I was like, you know, okay, that way I can help people. Because that was my whole drive and goal. I want to do something that can really help people. So I was like, I did that. But then I did it when I passed it. And so I got my access to uni. But then I was like, well, I don't want to be a social worker because this job is hard. As much as I want to help people, this job is hard. You know, it's draining and it's difficult. And I hate writing. And here's a big thing, to be honest. I hate writing, even though I've written a book. But I hate writing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But that's more creative writing. But I hate writing, right? And in social work, you have to write. There was so much writing, and this was just after the baby P situation, which some people might not know about because it's so long ago. But there's a baby P situation that happened with a child, and basically after this situation happened, it was kind of like now social workers have to account for everything.
So everything, report on everything as well.
Report on everything. So everything is just writing around. I remember being like, I can't keep up with all that writing as well. It's just so, I can't do that. Then I did a personal training course because I was into training at the time as well. I passed that, you know, but I didn't do anything with it. And then I was going to go into doing a photography course potentially.
Wow, you really went all out and dibbled and that. I love it though.
Yeah, because I used to take pictures at people's parties for them just because I used to do it. So I used to be you'd invite me to your birthday and I'd take loads of pictures and you'd be like, oh, can I get those pictures? And you're like, right, you caught loads of moments. And I'm like, yeah, so I really got into photography. You know, and became an unofficial kind of like photographer for people, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, let me try going to that. But then at this stage, I got to about 24 and I was like, do you know what? 23, 24. And I was like, do you know what?
Yeah.
I think actually barbering is the thing I actually want to do. You know? And that's how I was, you know, so I said, okay, I think I'm going to do barbering there. Barbering is what I'm going to do. But at that point there, I didn't have to switch up anything because I had been taking barbering serious anyway. Like it wasn't kind of like, okay, now I'm going to start working properly. No, I just continued as normal. The only thing that changed was that I said, okay, barbering thing I'm going to do now. And I said, all right, cool. I'm going to set up a website for myself. And when people are like, why are you setting up a website? I just think because I'm a business. That was it. There was I didn't have no foresight.
So were you still working with Damon at this time?
Yeah, I was still at D&L's.
So was he like, what are you doing setting up your own website, or did he not really mind?
He didn't say anything. No barbers had websites. No barbershops had website. This was like 15 years ago. this is like 2008, something like that, 2009,
Right.
something like that, right? So I was just like, oh yeah, I'm a business, I'm self-employed, businesses have websites. That was my thought process.
Yeah.
So I set up a website, and then I was like, at that time, this is where SliderCuts came from, because my nickname was Slider from when I was 14 years old. Anyway, that's my name when I was MCing.
Okay.
That was my nickname. So everyone referred to me as that.
Okay.
So when I was setting up the website, and even before I'd done a website, a few years before that, I'd done business cards that had Slider the Barber on them. Anyway, I said, what should the website be called? I was like, sliderthebarber.com. Sounds a bit this and that. Then
She wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure. My wife who was my girlfriend at the time, and my older brother were kind of like, we don't like it. We don't like it. Maybe something else. And simultaneously, at the same time, they're both like Slider, maybe Slider, and they both like Slider Cuts.
Yeah.
And they both said Cuts at the same time.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even in the room. They were next door to me, and they said, they came in and said, we got this better idea, Slider Cuts, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, maybe, I'm not sure, this and that. Then I just kind of like, let me run it by people. Went into the shop the next day. I started running all the names. And as I kept on saying SliderCuts more and more, I was like, you know what? SliderCuts, I actually like the way SliderCuts sounds. So I went to the web developer and said, yep, can you get the hosting name for SliderCuts? He actually said, he thinks Slider the Barber's better. I said, no, SliderCuts the one. Went with that, set up a website. It was just one page. It was basic. It wasn't anything. All it had was the address of where I worked, my phone number, said SliderCuts, and that was it. That was my website.
No pictures.
Had nothing on it. It was just a page, basic information.
Obviously, it was a great move, but I thought that was going to have pictures and videos.
Eventually, we ended up having that. But when I started,
it's a step though.
It was a step, and that got me customers.
Yeah.
Because no barber had a website. Most barbershops, except for the really big barbershops, which would be like your Tony and Guys and stuff like that, the real chain restaurants, had websites. So I was one of the first people with a website.
Do you know what? I'm actually surprised that. Was it black guys that also reached out to you for cuts and stuff as well, I'm guessing?
Yeah, because basically what's happening is people which were coming from... What I started getting customers from were people that were coming from outside of London.
Got you.
Because when they were going online and Googling, black barbers in London. And eventually I said it started off with just one page, but then eventually it got built up to be pictures and more information.
Right, got you.
I was the only one with one. So whenever anybody would come from overseas or outside London and they're like, okay, black barber London, or whatever the search was, there was no competition because I'm the only person with
online.
A website.
Do you know what? That makes sense because initially I was thinking, I know black guys and they do not move from their barbers at all. Yeah. However, there is a need for when you go abroad because I even remember when I lived in San Jose and I was searching wide. Every black person I saw in like a supermarket, I'm like, do you know a black hairdresser? Do you know this? Because it wasn't online. So that is actually a really good shout. I didn't think about that.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how I just got loads of customers, and that's how SliderCuts started building. And then social media came out.
Right.
And then everybody was on social media for personal reasons. Yeah. But I remember being like, when Twitter came out and people were like, everyone's on Twitter. And I was like, I got nothing to say. Why am I going on there? Then Instagram came out. And I was like, oh yeah, you know what? Instagram sounds good for me because I can put pictures of my haircuts up. So I set up SliderCuts, put pictures up. Everyone was putting up personal things, this and that. I was putting up haircut pictures. Yeah. So my business was growing. And as Instagram was developing, Facebook was developing, I was going with them and I was putting up pictures, I was putting out videos, I was putting out barber content. I was just pushing what I was doing. Yeah. So the name started growing, the brand started growing. So it wasn't even like I didn't have this foresight where it's like, I'm going to build SliderCuts, it's going to be this.
You just kept on going, basically.
I just kept on going. And this is why this is something which is very important to always tell people, because people always say to me, always ask this question of, how did you know? And it's like, I didn't know. But what I did was, I walked to where my sight could see. So I always say that I was using an analogy. I've used this analogy for years. If you could see 20 feet in front of you, you can see everything that is 20 feet in front of you. So in the room we're in, you can see microphones, you can see the door, you can see the lights. So when you're planning your journey, you're like, okay, cool. I can see up to where the door is. Yeah. But the world is bigger than your view. Yeah. So although you can only see to where the door is, every step you take forward, you can see another 20 feet forward. Yeah, so the world keeps opening up the more you push forward. So I used to always say to people, when they're like, what are you doing this for? And what's the end goal? I said, I don't know what the end goal is. But I know where I'm going to right now. But what I do know is, the more I walk forward, the more things will open up and the more that I will see.
I love that. I love that theory because do you know what's crazy with you saying this? I feel that, like, in life in
Yeah.
general, there's a lot of things, even doing this podcast as
Yeah.
well, I feel like from doing it, I've got random speaking opportunities
Yeah.
from companies. I'm like, okay, but I wouldn't have really predicted that.
Yeah.
And they probably done it off the back of this. And
Yeah.
I think that, as you're completely correct, and I kind of want to delve a bit deeper into actually your book.
Okay.
Because you wrote a book, Shaping Up Culture.
Shaping Up Culture.
Yeah. In 2018 or 19?
2018 it released.
That you released. Okay. Yeah. How long did you write the book for? What was the process behind writing that book? Why did you write it?
It took me a few months to write the book.
Okay.
But it took
months?
Yeah, it took me a few months to write the book, but it took, maybe you could say, a year to a year and a half to develop the book. Okay. But when it came to actually writing the book, that was over a few months. But I already had the content before, because basically the content or things I was talking about, I had already had content out there about it through the vlogs I was doing on YouTube. So the subjects came from the vlogs I was doing anyways. That's why I meant that when people are like, oh, it took you a few months. Yeah, but it's bigger than that. There's a build up, because I had been speaking on these subjects. So, you know, and I had even had these vlogs transcribed for a blog I was doing. So even when it came to writing a book, I was just taking these chapters and saying, okay, cool, I'm in a different place now from, you know, 2000 or early 2017. Or maybe 2016, 2017 when I'm doing the vlogs. But ultimately, you can do whatever you want to in life. My goal is just to prepare you and prep you and to give you the realness of what's out there. And then you make your decisions from that. It's not to force you to do anything. You know, so I'd be like, let's say to young girls, I said, look, you're going to have pressures out there. Guys are going to come to you. I said, I cut young boys all the time. I am a man myself. Understand, they're going to put pressure on you to do certain things and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Understand that these guys are going to lie to you and get you up and say whatever they want to get whatever they want. This is just what these young guys are in it for. So I'll be talking to them like that. Like, look, I said, also, you're going to go out there and do certain things. Understand these are the risks that come with it. Whether it's disease, whether it's pregnancy, whether all these kind of things there, whether it's your emotional attachment, I said all these kind of things that come with it, right? And, you know, it might be you're giving yourself to someone and they don't give themselves to you. And because I talk to them like in this kind of way, where it's like, you know, so I'm saying that I think this is the way you should be doing things. But ultimately, I'm just giving you things in place for you to make your own decisions. And just to know that also if you do certain things, don't be like, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know this could happen. I didn't know I can get pregnant. What do you mean you didn't know you could get pregnant? You know, so, and they used to be like, you put things in a way that's really kind of like just really relatable and not kind of like
telling off.
You know,
it's just,
and they used to say to me, they say you should do like you should do talks online. They used to say to me, you should do talks online, right? So that was one. And then the other moment was I was in a barbershop one day and we were talking about black economy and all this kind of stuff there, right? And people just talking about loads of things, right? And I remember having this rant. You know, I can't remember how long it went on for. It might have been 5 minutes. I was cutting someone's hair. I started talking. I was just saying, the premise of what I was saying was, everybody in here just talks. I said, this is all I ever hear people talk. You know, everyone talks about what that person should be doing. It's the MP that should be doing something. It's the blah, 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 blah. What about the leaders? What about this? And everyone loved to point the finger at everybody else. You know, the pastors ain't doing enough in the streets. The blah, blah, blah. Everyone just always points at everybody else. And I said, well, what are you guys doing? And people are just kind of like, you know, but what can you do? And I said, there are so much things you can do. And I said, you talk about building up your economy. I said, but you will see that lady, because there used to be a market near the DNLs, right? And there's a lady used to sell like products. I used to say, that lady, right? You refuse to go to that lady to buy products of her because she sells everything £1 more than the big stores. But I said, but she can't sell it cheaper because she's only buying 20 at a time because it's a small store. They can sell it for £3.50 because they buy tens of thousands. But if you really want to do something, you're pointing at that person. Why are you not buying it off her? Go spend the £4 on it instead, or the £4.50. And I had this rant, like I was really getting passionate about, because I was like, everybody talks about what everyone else should be doing, but no one stops and says, what should I be doing? And none of you are willing to actually sacrifice, right, to actually build up your economy or to help your neighbor in any way. You know, it's all about you, but someone else should be doing something. And I was ranting about this, kind of like ranting. I got really passionate. I get passionate about these things, right? And I stopped, right? And as I stopped, and this is the part that is blurry in my head, because I can't remember if this was true or if it was just in my head that this happened, or just in memory. I stopped and I looked around and I didn't realize the whole shop
We're just listening
and looking at me, right? That part happened. I felt like they started clapping, but I don't know if that's
powerful, you know.
But I don't know if they actually started clapping, if I'm remembering that way. that part might not be true. But what was true happened was everyone was kind of afterwards started saying, Slider for president or for prime minister. You should be. They all start saying this thing about it. And I just remember being like, right, everybody is just listening to me in the shop. You know, and I realized I have all these views and things to talk about. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a vlog on YouTube,
Yeah.
just responding to current situations, talking about things which I want to talk about, things
Just
I think
general
people need,
things,
just
yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it came from, and that's where Shaping Up Culture came from, because I said I'm doing it from the chair.
Right.
You know, so how it was originally, it was Shaping Up Culture one hairline at a time.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole thing was I'm shaping up culture from the barber chair, and I'm doing it one hairline at a time, even if it means that I'm just doing it on the one-on-one conversations that I'm having with people in the chair.
Yeah.
You know, and that name, you know, is me, my wife, and my friend Shafra. We were just brainstorming, you know, just about stuff, and that's how the name came up.
I like the name.
You know, so it's just shaping up culture.
Yeah.
You know, we thought about shaping up the culture, and I remember saying I can't do shaping up the culture because shaping up the culture or shape up culture was another one. They're like, maybe you should do shape up culture. I said, I don't want to do shape up culture because it sounds like I'm shouting at the culture. Which I said, I want it to be a name which is kind of like I'm involved in it, and it's a doing thing, and I'm part of it. I'm not an outside thing. Shape up culture.
With the book, just for those who haven't got it, what does it generally cover? Is it general topics, or because I read online that it was more so about business advice and how to kind of build a business?
So basically, it's a business / self-help book. Now, when I say self-help, not self-help in a way of like you can be better, you just keep trying. I'm not this and that. I'm just saying it's not that type of self-help. It's self-help, not self-help. Self-development is what it is. It's a business / self-development book. More so, you could say 70% business, 30% self-development. And what it's teaching people is there are so much things, especially from a young age, that we don't put into place that actually can develop us in any road that we go into. You know, and also when I say even business, I say everything's a business. You know, a relationship's a business. You know, your friendships are businesses. You know, your projects, everything you do is a form of a business because you're putting something in and you want something out of it. So even when I say it's a business book, it's kind of like, but the things which I'm talking about can be relayed into any area of your life. You know, there's a chapter when we're talking about making yourself valuable. And one of the analogies which I'm making it is, in every situation, make yourself valuable. I said, you know, if you make yourself valuable, it's hard for someone to leave you in a relationship. Why? Because you're of value. Even if it doesn't mean that you should manipulate someone and do something wrong, but even if you do something wrong to someone, if you bring a lot of value to them, it's harder for that person to break up and leave you because you bring so much value. And this is what it's just like business. Everyone starts weighing up. Oh, you've wronged me, but you're valuable. And that could be because you're emotional support. That could be because, so in some cases, your finances. That could be because you're always there, you're reliable, and so on. You know, but you're bringing value to that person's life. So even though you've wronged them, you know, it's kind of like, can I leave this person? You're so valuable.
Do you know what's crazy? That you say that. I remember there was a time in my life where I look at you getting the counselling session going on, where I remember I was crying about bad relationships in my life because I felt like my friends and my family and no one really valued me. And it took a lot of deep self-reflection, prayers, and, you know, for me to really understand what am I doing wrong for these relationships to keep failing as well. And you're right, because I've seen a massive difference in just being more attentive, just paying attention and trying to be more present in everyone's life. And there's a huge change around. So what you're saying really, really resonates with me. Like, that's like a massive thing. Sorry, anyway, counselling session done. Continue.
But that's what the book kind of touches on, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, but make yourself valuable in business. I said, if you make yourself valuable in business, I said, you know, I use this analogy where I said there's 3 different types of people that approach business. There's the person that comes to business and they work for a job, as example. And when they work for someone, they just kind of like, I'm going to try get paid my full wage, but do as little as possible. And we all know those people where it's kind of like, you know,
bare minimum.
I'm not even trying to do what I'm supposed to do. If I can get away, if I have to do 10 things, if I can get away with doing 3 things and still get paid for my 10 hours and the 10 things I'm supposed to do, that's what I'm going to do. You know, then you get the second person, which is kind of like, I'm just going to do what I'm supposed to do. Nothing more, nothing less. So don't tell me nothing. I've done my 10 things. You told me to do 10 things. I've done 10 things. What do you mean 11? No. At the beginning of the day, you said I got 10 things to do. So that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm not doing anymore. I'm not doing any less. And I speak to people all the time about that, where it's kind of like, they're right. It's kind of like, nah, they're trying it. They try to add things onto me. This and that. No, I'm not doing that. And then you get the other person, which has been me in my life, who goes above and beyond. I do the 10 plus 5. You know, but then people look at that person and say, they're taking advantage of. And all this kind of stuff there. But what I do say is, if that business goes into problems and they have to make cuts, who are they cutting?
Exactly.
First of all, it's the person that does the bare minimum, right? You're gone without even thinking about it, right? Then the person that does what they're supposed to do, and I know some people have called me toxic online about this, right? But what I'm in my book, what I'm trying to explain is, I'm not trying to tell you the way life should be.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the way life is.
Yeah. You can do this, but you haven't done it or demonstrated any interest in it. They're not going to trust you. And I'm like that as well with people that I work with. And that's what, it's similar to dating. When I'm dating a guy, it's like, before you become my man's, I'm going to need to see you do something. I can't just trust that you're going to just change and be the man I need you to be. No, you know? So but continue. Yeah. I'm feeling it.
So it talks about things like that where it's like, the person doing what they're supposed to do is going to get cut as well. Because they're going to look at the person who's most valuable. So if this person is giving me 15 things, I'm going to take the person with 15 things. Now, you might see it as wrong or right or whatever it is, but this is just the way life works. And the funny thing is, people will say that's wrong, but have you ever been in a position of leadership, ownership, management, right? And ask yourself, if you have to make cuts, are you going to cut the person that's doing everything they're supposed to do and beyond, more? Or you're going to cut the person that's doing everything they're just supposed to do? Like, of course that person brings more value to the business. That person brings more value to your life. In whatever setting it is, right? So when I was shaping up culture, the book is really, you could say, it's common like a business book, but it's a self-development book of understanding how to go into things, how to go into situations, talking about your personal, I call this thing social credit. What's your social credit? I say to people, and I mean, when I'm in social credit, I'm talking about, you got your official credit, because this is in the book, you got your official credit, your official credit score, right? But there's another credit score, which is among your peers.
Which is important.
So what's your credit score there? Because so much people have been unreliable. People come to me and they're like, X, Y, and Z. What do you think of that person? And I'm like, I'm not trying to speak bad on them, but you know what? I know they haven't paid me back the money they owe me.
And that's
their credit score. So right now you're like, oh, I'm not borrowing money to that person then.
And you know what? Even it's funny because when I was in this car with my sister driving, literally as I turned around, I was like, I really hope he's reliable and he turns up on time. And then you called me, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's there before me. And I was just like, I love people like this. Like I was
there for like 10 minutes before that as well.
Yeah, I was like, I love people that just do what they say they're gonna do, because I've experienced. It's not a bad thing, I guess. I've experienced people that do last minute cancellations, like an hour before with this, and they don't understand the inconvenience that it could be. And it shows your character, how considerate you are, and that you can be relied upon, and people will probably go out the way for you as well in the same way.
Well,
so
build up credit, so at least you know you can be trustworthy, and the credit's not only to do with money, your social credit, it's to do with that. Can you trust the person? Will you trust the person to turn up on time? And this is actually in the book, where it's like, do you trust that person to turn up on time? Do you trust that person to turn up full stop? When they say they're gonna come back and give you this thing tomorrow, do you trust that they will? And it just explains to people that even in life, and I use this in the book as well, in the chapter of social credit, I said, unfortunately, what you got to understand is you can do 10 great things and one bad thing can wipe all of that away. And it takes so much things to cover that one bad thing, and everyone forgets. And this is just life, So when I'm talking in a book, it's not to be like me talking from a perspective of how should life be. I'm talking about how life is. You see it all the time. Celebrities on TV all the time, someone's getting cancelled, but this person has done humanitarian work and done this and done that and done all this kind of stuff there. They've done one bad thing and now they're cancelled. And that just shows you the way life is. And to get back, the amount of work they have to do to get back, and for everyone to forget and everyone to care again is so much. So it's just showing you that. And I'm of the mindset as well. I don't agree with the whole thing of like, you do one bad thing and the whole cancel culture just to make it. I'm actually not in agreement with it, because we're all humans and we all do bad things. The issue is that most of the people which are cancelling people are behind the keyboard, so we can't see their wrongs. So, but the reality is, we've got to understand, if we're going to go into a world like that and you want to be an influencer, you want to be this, you want to be that, it's not nice, but at the end of the day, know the world you're going into. This is life.
Sorry, on that point, because I know that time's going and everything, and I really want to get so much from this conversation as well, and you've been so valuable. How have you've cut some incredible celebrities hair, like LeBron James, Anthony Joshua, I think Reggie was on the Reggie. I was
cutting him this morning.
Oh, was it? So you've built up loyalty from these incredible individuals. How did you do that? Because I think a lot of people would want to understand. It's one thing interviewing someone or seeing someone at an event, but to have loyalty where they come back to you as a returning customer, that's incredible. So how did you get to that point with these different type of customers to be in this position?
That came from just like, a bunch of different things, but ultimately was a dedication to my craft and just wanting to be good at what I do. All over. So that is the product that I produce, which is the haircuts. One, making sure that I'm a good barber and I'm progressing and I'm getting better and I'm studying it. So, you know, I'm putting my work out there as well. So whatever seed you put out there, if it's the bad seed, that's going to grow. So meaning that if I cut your hair and you don't like my service, you're going to go out there and talk about it.
Say it. Yeah,
so that's what that seed's growing into kind of like now another person says, oh, that Mark guy, yeah, I heard that he's rubbish or he's this or he's horrible. Yeah. You know, and if it's good seeds, and people need to understand as well, good seeds grow slower than bad seeds. You know, they grow, so, you know, so you might go out there and you might not go there and spread the word that I cut your hair well. But when someone says to you, oh, who cut your hair? Or can you recommend me someone? Then you'll bring me up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a slower process than bad seeds because you will go out there and leave bad reviews and tell everyone that person's this and that person's that, right?
Yeah.
You know? So with me, it came from the era even before social media where I had a good, you could say good social credit in a sense of like people used to say, you know, they knew I was hardworking, they knew that I was reliable, you know, and I was an okay barber, you know, so those things there. So example, I'll just give you an example, like LeBron James. The way I got to cut LeBron James was randomly 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that. Some guy walked into the barbershop, tall, dark-skinned black guy, walked into the barbershop, and at that time, it was a Wednesday, I remember, and there was a few barbers working, and I had the longest queue. I had about 7, 8 people waiting. There's another barber was next to me who had like 2, 3 people, right? But he just used to always stop in between haircuts, go have a cigarette break, stop in between haircuts, take a break. And I remember being like, I'm trying to get through all the customers. This guy has walked in and I'm looking at him thinking, I remember thinking, how is no one else going to get to this guy? Like, these guys are just not being serious. This is how I was feeling. Like,
was this in your shop at the time or still Damon's?
This is D&L's. Yes.
Okay, D&L's.
This is D&L's. And I remember getting to him, right? He's my 7th, 8th customer. And I remember getting to him, right? And I think to myself, how have I got to him? But this barber here had 3 people. How have I cut 7, 8 people before you're 3 people? Every moment, cigarette break. Every moment, coffee break. Going outside, taking. I think so. Focus. But I'm like, okay, cool. So I didn't actually want to cut this client's hair, not because I had an issue with him, but it was just kind of like I had such a busy day. It was just kind of like
an addition.
I'm just, you know, I was thinking, one of the other guys is going to cut. Because my focus has always been this, and this is where it comes from. My focus has always been client based.
Yeah.
I've always been focused on making sure that the client was serviced correctly.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's kind of like, I'm not against this client. I just want him to get his hair cut and leave. So I get to him and I cut his hair. And we don't really talk, just kind of like, what are you getting done? Can I get a 1 level, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's what he said he wanted. Cool, no problem. That was it. A year later, he comes back to the barbershop. And now he wants me to cut his hair. Because last time he was here,
you cut his hair.
I cut his hair. And he liked the haircut. So then I'm like, okay, cool. He's super tall, dark skin, tall, has an American accent. So I'm in the chair, just talk to him a little bit, like, you know, what you doing in the country? He's like, I'm here to see my family because I'm originally from London. He's originally from Tottenham. You know, but he moved to America. So why did you move to America? He goes, when I was younger, 15, he was like 25, 26 at this time. When he's 15, 16, he got a scholarship in America to play basketball.
Okay.
I said, okay, you know, so where do you play? He goes, I play in the NBA. He goes, I play for the Houston Rockets.
Okay.
I said, okay, he's a professional basketball player, but he comes back to see his family every summer on their break.
Okay. You
know, so now he's coming to see me every year that he comes back because he liked the haircut, appreciate the service and everything like that. A few years later, the NBA 2012, the Olympics was happening in the UK. So he plays in the NBA. He knows the NBA players. He said to me, he called me and said, they're all asking me that they want haircuts because they're going to be here for like 4 or 5 weeks. Ooh. Yeah, I told them to come see my barber. He goes, they'll expect a call. I'm like, cool. So the lady called me and said, can you come to the hotel to cut?
How did you feel, by the way? Because I feel like I'd have been like, oh my gosh, Mom, this is so exciting. Like, how did you feel? That's amazing.
I didn't feel anything, to be honest, because especially at the time, I haven't quite disconnected from celebrity culture.
Right, okay.
So some of these people, I didn't even know who they were, even though I'd heard their names before. Right. You know, so just kind of like...
But not even the celebrity culture. I'm thinking about the business side of things. I'm like, I'm going to cut all these hairs, the business side of things, make some money. You shouldn't think that, though.
I don't know. I was just kind of like...
All right, cool.
I can't remember. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to go there, do my job, cut hair. Yeah. So, you know... They called me, I went to cut their hair. And then what happened was before I went to cut their hair, America had a exhibition game with GB, Great Britain. And he was playing it and I'd cut his, Pops Mensah, his name is, Pops Mensah. I'd cut his hair for that game. So at the game, they were all looking at his haircuts and okay, cool, cool, use your barber. So I remember even when I went up there to the hotel to cut their hair, I remember LeBron James walking into the room, right? And he was like, which one of y'all is Pops' barber? Because basically there's about 30 people, 30-something people getting haircuts. So they also got another barber there to cut hair. So I'm cutting hair. This other barber who I don't know is cutting hair as well.
Yeah. And
there's another barber there as well who he bought his other barber as well with him as well.
Right.
So like, which one of yours pops his barber? And I was like, me. He goes, like, cool, you're my barber. It comes in a box.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the thing you want is the Hoover.
Yeah.
But if that packaging is damaged, you don't want the Hoover. Yeah. Even though technically you could say, how does that affect the product itself?
It doesn't affect it, but yeah.
But it does. You know, and that's why I always tell people about your product and your packaging. Yeah. The packaging matters. The product is the haircut. Yeah. But the packaging in barbering, as example, is the service that comes with it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, how easy is it to get to where you are? How attainable are you? All these kind of things is the packaging, you know, which people have to go through to get to the actual product. You know, so that's why for me, it's always been like, you're just putting out a good product and having a good packaging around it, you know, your service that you give. And then loads of things were just coming from that, you know. I cut LeBron James and the rest of the basketball team, even Dwayne Wade. I remember, I didn't even know who Dwayne Wade was, to be honest. I remember asking him, what's your name, please? But I'd heard his name before, though. But I didn't know who he was, but I heard his name. I
didn't know who he was either, because I served him one time in the shop, and I was like, who's this man?
But I'm not into basketball, so I remember people saying to me, people like, you asked Dwayne Wade, what's his name, please? I didn't say who you are, I cut his hair.
What's your name, please?
I was like, oh yeah, so what's your name? And he said, Dwayne. And I said, okay, you're right there, Dwayne, blah, 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 blah. But then I heard other people saying, yo, D-Wade. And I remember saying to myself, I wonder if it's that guy I've heard people say their name, that Dwayne Wade. I wonder if it's him. I don't know. But, you know, yeah, you do things like that. Even like, as you know, J. Cole, I remember cutting him the same thing, similar thing.
You cut J. Cole?
Yeah. I think I might be the last person to cut J. Cole before he's actually locks, you know that, which might be a good or bad thing. Maybe I'm the reason why he got locks.
How was that? Because J. Cole's he's like my favorite rapper without being funny, but yeah. How is he?
I've cut him a few times, and he's very focused. If I'm being honest, right, I'll say he is probably, especially when it comes to celebrity, the most intense person I've ever cut.
J. Cole? I thought he would be cool.
No. He was cool. Don't get twisted. I don't want anyone to take sound bites of it and be like, I said, no, he is cool. Like, but when I mean intense, I mean, he gives off nothing. So the whole time, normally, so basically, barbers do this thing, right? When they're cutting someone's hair, especially when they get past a certain place, maybe they shaped up someone and they made a bit of a fade. They kind of look at the customer and they want some type of feedback, you know, whether it's kind of like the customers look in the mirror and like, kind of just look, you know, or they smile, this and that. I got none of that from him. So I was cutting his hair the whole time thinking, so does he like it? Does he not? Does he like it? Does he not? I'm like, I'm nervous. Like, does he like it? I'm not sure if he likes the haircut. And I remember he finished, the first time I cut him anyway, the first time he cut him, he finished the haircut and he stood up and he looked in the mirror and I'm just watching him and he's looking in the mirror, looking both ways. And he's touching his hair. He's got a taper, touching the taper part. And he's looking, and I'm just there like,
does he like it?
I'm like, my heart's beating, I'm like, oh, jeez, I'm not sure if he likes this haircut. I'm not sure he likes it. And he just turned to me and he's like, good man. It's good, man. Okay. It's good, man. And I'm like,
ooh, release.
I'm like, cool. Like, he gave off nothing to me, right? It was just kind of like focused. He's like, the whole time I was cutting his haircut, he was focused. He was, because one of the times I cut him, it was before he was going on stage. He had a concert in London. So he was listening to some music or some of his music was doing some stuff. Other times I cut him, he was just kind of like, he's just very focused, you know, but every time at the end of it, it's kind of like, cool, tip me, everything like that as well. So it's kind of like, you know, even though I remember, so I cut him a couple times and I remember the last time, it's kind of like, he tipped me, he's like, yeah, like I really appreciate the haircuts. He's like, so he did like it, but I just remember he gave off nothing in the haircut, you know, to make me know that. So I was like, oh, wow, am I doing a good job?
Wow. Have you ever cut any celebrity's hair and they're like, I don't like it?
Have I cut a celebrity's hair and they said they don't like it? Not to me.
Okay.
You know, they could have said to other people. I'm not in a place where I could believe that song couldn't say that, because they could have come to someone else and said, no, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe.
Yeah. Well, okay. So on that, so I know obviously you've done the book. You've kind of been credible amongst celebrities as well. In regards to you doing campaigns with like Nike and Facebook and being featured on GQ and becoming a speaker, how did all of these opportunities, just to kind of sum it up a little bit, how did you again grasp these opportunities and what did they do for you as well, just to kind of get an overview?
I just put myself out there. So originally it came from putting myself out there. Like all these campaigns, people I think used to think I had like a PR manager or a publicist that was getting me all of this stuff. And I was like, no, I was just putting myself out there on Instagram. I put myself out there on Facebook.
And they contacted you?
Yeah. I put out my character basically. So ultimately, I was being more than just a barber, just cutting hair. I was also expressing what I felt as a barber, what customers should do, you know, business acumen, all this kind of thing there online, right? I was doing days in my life. I was showing people around what I was doing. And, you know, then Nike, same thing. The Nike advert I done, campaign I done, I shot that like a week apart from the Facebook campaign. Literally, you know, I remember one of the guys from the Nike campaign was on the Facebook campaign.
Look at life,
you know,
like just the full circle.
And he didn't recommend me. It was nothing to do that. It was
just
separate.
Life, yeah.
And yeah, they contacted me. I remember when Nike agency, whatever, they called me and said they want me to do the thing. I remember exactly what I asked them. This is 2017. I said, "Oh, you want me to be in this thing?" And they said, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." And this is when I was still at DNL's before I had my own shop. So I remember I talked to the lady, said, "Okay, because I said, because DNL's, the old DNL's, because DNL's has got a new place now, which is fresh. The old DNL's said it's like a real traditional old school kind of looking barbershop." So I said to them, "You know, the shop isn't like prestige like that in look, right?" Because I was, you know, I was thinking, like, you want to come do an advert here, just letting you know that. They said, "Yeah, we know that. And they're like, "Okay, cool." I was like, "Cool, you can come and do it." And I said, you know, also, why do you want me to do it for? I remember I asked the lady, I said, why do you want me SliderCuts? Why do you want SliderCuts to do it? And she said to me, "You know what? We just feel like SliderCuts has got a good occult following." That's what she said to me. I said, "Cool." I said, you know that SliderCuts is a person. It's not a shop. I work in DNLs. You know, it's not a shop." And they're like, "Yeah, cool, whatever." Like, but they just wanted me to be part of it because of whatever they seen online. And then like a month later, or even less than a month later, Instagram contacted me. So I did a campaign with Instagram, and they contacted me and they followed me for like over a day or day and a half, right? Just filming my whole life, and to do this 15-second clip, right? It's like you film me for like 13, 14 hours.
No, 15-second clip.
Or 15-second clip, right? But the same thing. And I went through all these interviews. The interview stage was so long. It's like business people around tables and online, and you know, but they just see me online. So I had no one doing anything. I was just putting myself out there. And that's
Did you edit everything yourself as well? Because your content's quite good. It's well put together. Did you do it?
Yeah, I edit my stuff as well. You know, so yeah, that's how. So people would ask me, and I just said I just put myself out there. So in the normal realms of being like, you know, how I deal with people off camera.
Yeah.
And then even on camera, I put myself out of the true reflection of who I am and what I believe. And that kind of spreads, you know, in the virtual world as well. You know, and all these things have just come. Majority of campaigns that I've done.
It's come to you.
Yeah. And when majority, I'm talking about probably 90, high 90, 90% have all just come to me.
And awards as well. The awards that you've got.
Yeah. I've been contacted, you know, to be part of these things. I think that I could probably name the things I've been part of, which has been either me or someone on my team has reached out to someone to do something. I probably can name them. It's like probably like 5 things, you know.
Either way, you know, whether you've reached out to someone and they've still been.
But that's what I do now. But now, and this is the important thing about business, people need to understand as well. Just because you quote unquote organically are getting all these things there, that's not where it stops. I now have a PR manager who I pay on a retainer to now reach out to people because it's kind of like, great, you can get 10 things in from people just coming to you. So how much would you get if someone was out there working, trying to get you stuff now? Now I'm in a place where it's like, okay, cool. Go out there, you know, and find me stuff. It's the smart business thing to do, and not just sit there talking about things are always going to keep coming to me. Because they're not always going to keep coming. They might not always keep coming to you. This can slow down. You know, so now I'm in a position where, you know, I've got someone working on my behalf to do those type of things there.
Right.
But yeah, majority of those things, they just came from me just putting myself out there and building good relationships online and in person. Yeah. And yeah, these things just come your way.
I feel like I feel really inspired from this conversation. I'm just taking it all in. But that's incredible. Like, I feel like you have had an inspiring story from like young, your influences, you know, your learnings. I feel like you've picked things up really well, and you've given such incredible insights as well today. And thank you for being so like open as well. And just, I don't feel like you held back at all. I feel like you was completely like, just like candid.
And I think that's what makes life easier for me. I'm I'm an open book more so, and it's a lot easier to keep up the act when you're not acting. Yeah. Because people always feel like there's people see online when they're like, oh, you know, he's gonna fall one day, she's gonna stop with this and that, because they feel like they're acting. And like, that's what makes my life easier, because I'm not acting. It makes it a lot easier to keep it up.
Like being your true authentic self. I don't think people understand how freeing it is in every situation. And I'm so happy for you that you're able to do that. And also I'm happy that you're a man of God as well, because, you know, when I think what drew me to you even more was Colossians 3:23.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that is, because my dad used to say it to us all the
Okay,
time.
yeah,
you know, whatever you do, you know, do it from God and do it well. I'm like, do you know what? That resonates with me, and I'm so happy that you've become so successful.
It's because I believe that I'm serving a bigger power than this person. So when it's kind of like the Colossians verse where it's talking about, you know, everything you do, you know, don't do it unto man, you know, do it unto like you're doing it unto God. And I would say to people, if you were to act like God was your boss and God is always there, the things you do day to day would change, because your boss will get the best out of you. If your boss is in front of you, you work properly because your boss is right there. So imagine taking your boss out of that, even when your boss is not there, but God is there. So now you're doing the best work. Now you're dealing with people correctly, and my conscience hit me. I'll be like, okay, I cut someone's hair, and I'm like, I could have dealt with him better. And do you know what? Actually, this and that, and my conscience is pricking me. So it means that even when people aren't watching, I'm having to better myself and do better. And these are where all these things have been birthed from.
Honestly, I've had the same situations when I've interviewed people for roles and stuff, and I think straight away, oh my gosh, they're so terrible. But then I think to myself, they're a human being. It's like, you know, they're human. They want a job. They don't mean any harm. They're not trying to do anything wrong. So yeah. But anyway, I know we've had such a nice in-depth conversation, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on today.
And I want to leave one last thing as well.
Okay.
That I've also been nominated now for the British Entrepreneur Awards.
Ooh. By who? Are you trying to remember now?
I'm trying to remember what category, which I'm actually...
British Entrepreneur Awards.
Yeah.
He's checking his phone, guys, so he can double check. But that's incredible. When did you get nominated?
I think in the last few weeks I got told this.
Okay.
It is the Great British Entrepreneur Awards.
Okay.
2022. Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and the category which I am in, I've been shortlisted for, and I can't even find where it is.
Did a drum roll, please. Rating.
Yeah, I cannot. Oh yeah, no, here it is. Service Industries Entrepreneur of the Year.
Service
Industries Entrepreneur of the Year.
When do you find out if you win?
I guess whenever the show is, which I'm not sure exactly when the date is, but yeah, so that was like from over 5,000 entries. I've been shortlisted for 8 people from these 8 people.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Can we vote for you or no? Is it a panel that does all the voting? And
that's a great question. I'm not sure.
You don't know? Okay.
I'm not actually sure exactly how it actually even works, but I know I've been nominated.
Okay.
You know.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And I don't know you in deep detail, but I'm really proud of you. I'm really grateful for you, you know, your presence and you just doing what you're doing and inspiring people and putting out information. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And where can everyone find you, connect with you, listen to you?
Just SliderCuts, you know, everything. SliderCuts.com has all the information, my Instagrams, my Twitter, my Facebook, my TikTok,
YouTube,
my Snapchat, my YouTube, my LinkedIn.
Yes.
All SliderCuts. Well, actually, my LinkedIn is my real name, Mark Maciver. But everything else is just SliderCuts. If you go to Google and type SliderCuts in, or Mark Maciver, you'll see everything that I'm on.
Talking of LinkedIn, could you accept me, please? I sent a request like a couple months ago. Yeah, and it's still pending. I went on yesterday and I was just like, why is it still pending, Mark?
Oh,
I need to connect.
I didn't know. I'll accept it. I accept it.
I need to see the content coming on LinkedIn.
I'm now only getting used to LinkedIn. Like literally, like there's so much platforms out there. I'm now just getting used to. I
thought you hadn't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, to be very honest. I haven't seen it. You know, sometimes I don't know. Am I supposed to? Is that accept people? What am I supposed to do? So I'm just putting out content on LinkedIn right now, and I'm trying to gauge exactly what it is. So yeah, definitely, I'll definitely accept it. 100%.
Oh, thanks.
Poke it again. I'm saying poke. That's how you know. I don't know. I was about to say poke again or.
Poke again.
I don't know. That's how you know I don't really understand it. I know. That's how you know I don't understand it.
Wow, poke. Okay, all right then. Well, anyway, thank you so much everyone for kind of tuning in to this episode. I hope you've learned a lot. Remember to connect with Mark as well, and I'll see you on the next episode. Remember to share, like, subscribe, comment, all of it. And thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.